Hello friends, welcome to xoxo Shop. I expect that you've probably been brought to this video because you have purchased a slow stitch kit, and this is just a very brief introduction to walk through what you've received in your kit and to give you a little bit of guidance on how to use it. Now, slow stitch generally is about the process, not the product. So there's no pattern, there's no right or wrong way to do this. It's really about the process and about enjoying the feel of the fabric and the thread and the process of piecing things together in a way that can be therapeutic to you, something that can be creative without the pressure of perfectionism or doing it right or wrong, something that can be an activity that is not as full of pressure as doing your work or doing some sort of creative endeavor that takes a lot of concentration. You can certainly do it just while you're hanging out or watching TV, but you can also do it while you're listening to a guided meditation or to music, if that feels comforting or mindful or meditative. You can think about what you're feeling and what you're doing, and throughout history, people have been sewing and stitching and embroidering as a way to take time and to bring beauty and to mend things. And the lovely thing about everything that's in your kit is that all of it, except for the pins and the needles, has been reclaimed. It's things that were donated or given away or thrown away, and so you're bringing a second life to them. So no pressure to feel nervous about using the materials or wasting them. All of this is something that would have ended up in a dumpster if not for you. So let's take a look at what's in your kit. I apologize because I don't have fancy editing skills, so this is what we're doing. I'm just turning you. Okay, so this is a sample of what you may have received. I'm going to try and make sure that I stay in this camera. So this is embroidery thread, and this is regular thread. The embroidery thread is much thicker than the regular thread, as you can see. And the difference is mostly how it's going to show up on your finished piece. Here are your pins and a needle. This is an embroidery needle. What makes an embroidery needle different is that it has a bigger eye so that it can fit the thickness of the embroidery thread. You have some little beads, some little attachments here, just random rickrack, some smaller pieces of fabric, some little mushrooms. Each kit is different. No two are going to be exactly the same. And some bigger pieces of fabric. And then you have your base, which is most likely made of muslin, which is a bit of a thicker fabric. And you can think of this almost like your piece of paper that you're going to collage on. Now there's two ways to go about this. One is that you can lay everything out the way that you want it, pin it together, and then start sewing. Or you can take one piece at a time and sew them on individually. There's no right or wrong way to do this. So what I find myself doing is making a bit of a start, so maybe putting a few things on, and then, and you of course can cut any of these up. You can just cut out a little piece that you'd like, use the whole thing, whatever you want. You have more than enough to make this one piece. You don't have to feel like you have to be careful. You can cut it and then rip it out and do something different. So I would say I might make a little bit of a plan. So let's say we want to go in this direction. And then what I often find myself doing is changing it as I go. So this is just a starting point. And again, no need to really pay attention or be careful. You're not going to waste anything if you end up tossing the whole thing in the heap. But you may end up feeling like it's really beautiful and like you want to do something special with it, like hang it up or frame it. You may want to give it to a friend. You can do anything that you do with regular fabric with these little patches. You can piece them together to make a quilt. You could put them as a patch on a shirt or a jacket or a little tote bag. You could make dish towels or rags. You can really do anything. Make a little wallet. People make little book covers and needle holders. Really anything you can do with fabric, you can do with these. Okay, so now I'm going to show you one that I've been working on and show you a few stitch ideas. So you can get as fancy as you want, but you can also stay very simple. The idea is typically to keep it simple with a straight stitch. So this right here is a straight running stitch. Then I've done some crisscrosses here. And here I've done, I think it's called a blanket stitch. This is probably the fanciest I've ever gotten. You can get as fancy as you want, but there's really no need. And then you see here I followed the pattern of this vine. Here I put in some straight stitches. So I'm just going to show you about threading a needle. Okay. So when you choose your thread, as I mentioned before, you have either regular thread, which is quite thin. You can double this up, but it's still going to be not a big statement. So the difference between these little threads and this big yellow is the difference. So when you're threading a needle, what you want to do is take, I'd say about a foot, 12 inches. Let me grab my scissors here. So you're going to cut yourself about a foot of thread. As I mentioned before, this is the needle. You're going to put the eye of the needle. You're going to put the thread through the eye. Now, if you have trouble, if your thread is all frayed at the edges, my aunt would say not to do this, but there's no shame in just licking that, and that'll make it easier to go through. So you put it right through the eye, and then there's two choices. You can pull this all the way down to meet the other end, and you can tie your knot there. That'll give you a double thickness of the thread. The thread won't go as far, but it'll be a little bit stronger and it'll stand out a bit more. Or you can pull the thread through to about halfway and just do your knot at this end. So I'm going to show you how my grandma taught me to do a knot. This is around your finger, roll it down, and pull it down. I'm going to do that again. And I don't care about my knot being perfect. I'm okay with it being messy because this is slow stitch. Just like preschool collage, just for fun. Just see how the colors hit you. So you just pull it down. Now, if you do this method where you have it just pulled through, be careful because when you pull your needle up, you might pull your whole thread out. So you want to kind of grab that edge with some part of your hand so that you're not going to pull your needle out. Now to do a straight stitch, what you're going to do, let's do one down here so that you can see it. You're going to come up from underneath, or you could go down, or maybe from down is easier. So you put it in the fabric, and you're going to pull until that knot stops you. Then you're going to come back up right next to it, pull that out, and then go right back down. Of course, if you wanted to hide your knot, you could on the back. I happen to love how the back looks with all those little stitches. I almost would frame that side. So you go up and down, up, where are we? Here we are. Up and down. Now, like I said, you can get fancier with these stitches, but one of the main ideas about slow stitch is just, it's not about being fancy, and it's not about making something that's perfect. It's about enjoying the process. And I would say this straight stitch is the most reliable way to make sure that you're focused on the experience of it, the feel of the needle, the sound of the thread as it goes through, and not worried about making the stitches right. So last thing I'm going to tell you is about, well, I'm going to show you how to make a knot, and then I'm going to tell you about the embroidery thread. So for a knot, you're going to take a pinch of fabric, pull it almost through until you just have one loop. You're going to put the needle through the loop and pull it tight. You're going to do that once more. Always do it twice. You can do it 3 times if you want, but twice is probably good. Got your loop, put your needle through, and pull it tight. And then you can cut that right there. So the thing I wanted to show you with the embroidery thread is that you can use the thickness that it comes with, which I believe is about 6 threads, 6 individual threads. Or you can separate them to use as many or as few as you'd like. So you might want to just have a single thickness. You might want to use half. I used half on these, 6 pieces. So I'm taking 3 apart there. On these yellow stitches here, I used half, three individual threads. So you've separated them out here. Now something that I tend to do is I just slowly pull it. Can tend to knot pretty easily, so take your time. And this is the slow stitch movement, so no rush, no need to worry, and just pull that out until it's all the way up. Okay, well, I wish you very happy stitching, and I will be making some more videos for us to stitch together and for us to explore different patterns and shapes. And I'm just so grateful that you're here with me. So please let me know thoughts you have or ideas you have. And I hope this leads to a lot of happy, slow stitching for all of us. Lots of love.